All right, I think we should start. All right, good morning and welcome on the crisp chilly morning. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Deepti and I will be your host for today's session, Why Google Shopping Reports No Longer Explain Performance. Um, Today we're going to discuss a challenge that many marketing and paid search teams are experiencing. Competitive search data is becoming less reliable as Google changes how ads are served and who gets to see them. As a result, decisions around budget, brand defense, and performance are often being made with incomplete visibility. So the goal of today's session is to clarify what's changed, why it matters, and how marketers should think about competitive visibility moving forward. With that, I am pleased to hand it over to Prasanna Dhungel, managing partner and co-founder of GrowByData. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Dipti. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. It's a sunny, nice day here in Boston. I see piles and piles of snow here. Hopefully everyone's well, with the massive blizzard we had a few days ago. Welcome to the conversation about why your Google Shopping reports no longer explain performance lapses that you might be noticing. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about competitive intelligence and how that is wrecking with all the lapses that we're seeing in Google Shopping ads data, some of the key impacts that it's having on leaders across various lines, and then what are the ways to regain that competitive intelligence on Google Shopping. Okay. And we will open it up for questions after that. Right. We believe the old ways of getting competitive intelligence data is almost broken, if you may, to dead. And the why is for a long time, data companies were reading Google's incognito mode. Incognito means, for those of us that are not aware, you're not logged in and you search and Google doesn't save any of that history. And whether it be SEO tool companies, rank tracking tool companies, and so on, the system, the technology was really reading based on this incognito mode. And so you're seeing shopping ads, text ads, organic listing. That's what historically was done for a long time. And that was the technique, to do this at scale. I mean, we've been doing this for over a decade. So really have understood this solution / some of the challenges there. Now, with LLMs and how they need information for their models, Google started to get scraped a lot. And this was beginning to create headwinds, even in Google's business. And that's one. And the second is even from an ad yield standpoint, as Google's ad models get gotten better and better, sharing ads data on non-logged in incognito perhaps was becoming less sensible. And so Google started to clamp down and share less information on incognito mode. And last year, or a few months ago, around August, September timeframe, Google stopped the ampersand 100, which was widely known in the industry. It broke a lot of rank trackers, and in parallel, Google started to share less and less ad data. And hence, the whole ad intelligence world started to get less ads, and hence the insights that were being offered started to not make sense. Now, moving on, this is a very classic slide. So if you're monitoring shopping ads in the traditional model, on a scan, or on 100 scans or 100 searches on Google, you might see ads on anywhere between 30 to 50% of the case. And that you're seeing your ads, competitors' ad across different keywords, across different markets. And then around September timeframe, the number of ads that you were seeing just started to tank, to 2%, 3%, what have you. And so if you're kind of making decisions based on a large data set, you're doing market research on a large sample, I mean, it's statistically significant. Whereas now, if the same insights are offered on a much smaller sample, you can wonder whether the direction you're getting from the insights provider are really right. How can you really be making the right decisions? And so this was the collapse in terms of ad yield that I wanted to share with you. Now, moving on, um, like this is really the problem, which is you're moving from a massive, like rich ad data set to, in some cases, less than 2% ad yield. And as a result, the dashboards may be all populated, but the input is broken. So if you have bad, incomplete data going into the models, you can wonder what that's going to yield. If you're understanding competitors from these reports, are you seeing all the competitors? If you're understanding like competitors' pricing strategy, now are you seeing all the competitors' pricing strategy, and so on. So you can begin to understand some of the ramifications of having this limited data set, in a lot of your modeling. So now, the thesis is, what you can't see, what you can't even fix it, right? So almost like this is not exactly a junk in, junk out, but if you have very little going into your ad intelligence data models, then you have very little visibility on really what's happening on your ad, on your own performance, on competitors, and so on. And so some of the impact to paid source colleagues is like on bids, as you're building and optimizing campaigns, do you have visibility on, your competitors? Are they appearing in your top markets? Are they appearing in your top product lines? Are they going on the offense or are they going on the defense? Do they have a different ad strategy, and so on? So you had all of this rich information that we as GrowByData and many others in the industry were offering. So that whole aspect of using that intelligence on your bids begins to break down, and a lot of strategy becomes guesswork. The second is we've worked with very large brands who struggled with affiliates appearing on their brand terms, on their brand plus terms, what have you. And affiliates pop up on the weekends from second, third tier cities, or from areas that you might not think someone's watching. And so a lot of this affiliate detection um, use case begins to break down because you do not see text ads showing up on your ad data. The third is if you're a retailer and you are using competitive intelligence on your on competitors' merchandising, product, promotions, and so on, you now are almost blindsided. So it might have been fine, let's say going into the last holidays, but now this hasn't been around for a couple of months, and as you think about 2026, do you believe that you're armed with intelligence on what your competitors are doing from a product mix standpoint? Do you believe that you understand promotional differences across different geographies, across their different product lines? Do you understand whether your partners, retail partners, are really complying with your trade promotion programs? You might have a trade promotion program with your top resellers as a brand, and you might be subsidizing their Google Shopping ad budget because they committed to really promoting you versus your competitor. Is that happening? So if you do not understand whether all of these aspects are being followed, whether it be policies that you have that are being followed by your partners, or your internal campaigns, or just your product strategy or merchandising strategy, all of these things that you can arm with rich shopping ads data, now you're always in the dark. So this is a big problem. And the strategy based on these distorted inputs, is huge, huge. It's like a mega impact to leaders. And some of the key areas of impact are budget and CAC. I mean, you really do not understand whether you are continuing to ramp up your cost per acquisition. You might be running a promotion. So we worked with a large cosmetics company a few years ago. And then one of the ways that they were using competitive ad data was to make sure that their CPC rise was capped. They were not wanting to compete with their resellers. And so you do not have that kind of intelligence now. So you might worry that your ROAS is going to drop, your brand equity. You might be now getting a lot of competitors who are appearing on your brand terms. So how do you have a brand defense policy there? We talked about affiliates and so on. So the issue is, as I step back, whether it be on strategy, planning your product promotion mix, pricing mix going into this year, regional strategy, or your ad copy, or even from a defense standpoint, having a game plan to go against your affiliate violators, your trade promotion partners, all of these. If you do not have the intelligence that you were previously getting with rich ad data, now you're almost struggling, or you will be. That's what we are finding working with a lot of large brands. Now, here's a question.
Okay, so the poll question is, do you feel your Google Shopping insights are correct? So we have three options: absolutely, 100% confident, not sure, doesn't feel right, and then dead sure it is wrong. So let's take a moment to do this.
We'll give ourselves about 30 to 45 seconds here. Do you feel your Google Shopping insights you're getting from your analytic partner, tool companies, advisors feels right? I mean, you understand your business. So are some of the reports just not making sense? Are you like totally sure? I'd love to understand this question. All right. Dipti, as the results come in, I'd love to understand, and I know you'll be sharing that in a bit. Let's move on. So let's see the real battlefield as this has shown, in the market. So here's the example. So what do the bots see, and what do we see? So this is on the right. Imagine this is me, Prasanna, searching for best running shoes. I see all these sneakers on the top here. I see ads on the top. I see text ads here. I see organic listings. I might see ads on the right and so on. This is the experience that we humans are exposed to when we do a Google search. Now, what the bots are seeing more and more these days, which is really the incognito mode, is you're not really seeing ads on the top. You're not seeing ads on the right, and there's there's other organic listings that show up. Sometimes you're not even able to do the clicks and see what comes up on the detail. So previously, your insights were based on the right, which is what humans are seeing. But more and more, the problem that we have noticed is the insights are based on the left, which is what the bots see. So you can imagine, is it a junk in, junk out principle, or no data? What is generated on the other end? So this is the classic problem that we wanted to bring to surface here. Now moving on, here's another. So what do we do? You might be like, okay, I get the problem. I really understand that the world changed. My data providers are not collecting what they need to, or they don't have enough information to make a statistically significant suggestion. So what we've done is we have activated this concept called logged in mode data collection. So on the left is us reading and getting ad yield. Between 40 to 60% of the time, we're seeing ads. And this time over the fall, after Google made those changes, we are naming this the zone of invisibility, which means the ad yield went dramatically down. Anywhere like for some clients, it was like less than 2%, 1%. Some was like 5-ish%. But that said, it's better, right? 4 or 5% is better than 2%. But still, if you're operating, if you're making strategy based on a much richer ad data set, historically, you can imagine how you can get blindsided. And so when we activated this logged in mode data that and started to collect data that humans were seeing, you can begin to see how ad yield shot up again. And so this is the mechanism that we believe we should be using to regain that intelligence that now we don't have from the traditional ways of data collection. So here's a difference to bring this to life. So this client that we were working with in the nutritional space had about ad yield of about 40% before all of this shakeout last fall. Like everyone else, the ad yield dropped to around 2%. And now with the logged in mode, the amount of ads that's generated went up to 70%. So why this is really telling is while the 2% or what might be plus minus, the delta, the sharp fall and the massive rise again is something that we want to kind of present here, which is, as a business leader, as you're making decisions, you really need, again, the right amount of information for you to make a decision on ads or merchandising or promotions or pricing or go to market, new customer acquisition, and so on, which again, rich ads data gives you. You need to regain this. And the way to do this is through this logged in mode data collection. Here's another example. So in this particular case, the old data yield was about 35%. In Incognito, it was not 2%, but it was 4%. But then with logged in, it shot up to 73%. In another category, it was 50%. In this case, the yield was slightly higher. This was in the home decor space. But then when the logged in mode was activated, it went up to 70%. So as I kind of browse through this, you can see that on average, you are around 40-ish, 30 to 50% before Google made these changes last fall, went down, massively down, and then again has shot up. So you can imagine like how you can again have access to this rich information with logged in mode data collection to regain the strategic levers you had. If you're trying to defend your brand, if you're trying to expand new partners, go to new geographies, acquire new customers, regaining this intelligence is really going to be a competitive advantage. So now, Deepti, over to you. I'm just very curious.
Okay. All right. So 83% they have picked not sure, doesn't feel right as the response, which is not surprising, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, because our conversation with brand leaders are the questions we get is, this doesn't look directionally right. Why am I not seeing my number one competitor popping up, on the report? I used to see this competitor a lot. I don't see it as often. I'm doing a spot check myself, and I'm sensing this in the market. Here's the chatter I'm hearing from my internal team, and the reports kind of what's happening on these are some of the types of directional questions I've gotten. So it's pretty insightful. Thank you so much for sharing your point of view on this. All right, moving on. Now, you might question, okay, this logged in mode. How can I make sure that this is the right thing to do, right? How can I make sure that this makes sense? So my view is I don't think perfect data really exists. So one option is Incognito, which everyone was using. Now Incognito mode data collection is really in deep troubles, as I'm showing you. The other is this logged in mode is an option for you to have a lot richer data set, a much higher yield. Now it's not perfect. It might not be exact, but are you going to be caught with nothing or directionally correct data, which allows you to act? And so we believe that the old system is broken. Unless things change over this year, the old model will continue to have a lot of headwinds. Logged in mode, we believe, is a realistic view of a new unbiased shopper. So for example, if I'm not in the market for a red dress, okay, and my profile, maybe that's a bad example. Let's say I'm not in the market for buying a new soccer uh, shorts, and I search for that. So you might be like, am I the right profile? Is my information correct? But that said, what Google presents to me would be, and I really haven't been searching for soccer shorts in the past, then what Google's going to present to me would be a representative data set or a representative ad to a new buyer. So if you're trying to go after new customers, if you're trying to attract new customers versus you bring back your old shoppers, this kind of a model is valuable because some of the clients we work with, they want to attract new traffic. They want to get new customers. And so this view, logged in view, is a representative sample of an unbiased shopper. And then again, it's not perfect. I do agree, but it directionally gives you insights. It directly helps you understand, are your biggest competitors really pushing hard? Um, are your biggest competitors pushing in new markets? Are they going after new categories? Did they change their ad copy? Did they change their pricing? Did they change their merchandising? Did they change their product mix? And so on. A lot of information that you historically have had, which you are using to drive strategy, you can now recreate. So again, it's not perfect, but it's directionally helpful for you to make decisions. Um, Now, what's the result of this? Which is, we believe this model allows you to have velocity. So you might be stuck at the moment with limited information. So again, you can create your campaigns, you can make budget and campaign investment decisions with the right information. You can understand who is encroaching on your brand terms, and who's really pushing hard and have a strategy there. You can understand your affiliate space. Our affiliates now really pushing hard now because all of the monitoring is in trouble. You can make sure that your product portfolio is right. So going into 2026, into the spring, do you have the right kind of attractive product mix to beat competition? With tariffs and inflation and other things always into the mix, do you believe that you have the right pricing? Do you believe that you're underpricing or overpricing? All of these insights you can still get with this information, which is super powerful. Now, we believe trusted data pays for itself. If you are reliant on bad, incomplete data, it's a huge waste, saves time, saves a lot of dollars, and the impact is not going to be the type of growth and the type of returns and the type of brand defense that you would expect. And we have a very engineered approach to collecting this data, and giving you quality signals for driving strategy from these Google Ads data. And now, with that said, let's open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Prasanna, for the webinar. The first question I have here is why, hold on for me 1 second. Have you seen differences in ad yield by market and by category?
We've not, yes and no. So when I say no, this has been a global problem as we work with brands in the US, in Europe, and others, as we work with clients that have, that are regionally focused to nationally focused. There's some nuances, like for example, even in one of the slides I was showing, for certain categories, the ad yield is slightly higher than others. But that said, overall, we've seen Google serve less ads in incognito mode. So overall, everyone is facing this problem, essentially. So, you do not want to ignore this problem if you are, in a specific category or in a certain market. So yes, I think it's everywhere, although the amount of problems might be slightly higher or lower.
Okay. All right. Next question is, what should I ask my data providers to check?
That's a fair question. So one of the questions you should be asking your data providers is the number of ad listings. So that might not be a metric that everyone exposes, but ask them. Last year, for a specific search, how many ad units was I seeing? If, for example, on average, you were seeing 3 ads for search, what's that number of ads that you're seeing last fall and now? So my guess is if on average you were seeing, like, for terms like buy running shoes, you were seeing 5 ads last spring, that might have gone down to 1 or less in the fall, and it might be the same. So again, ask the number of ad listings that your ad providers are finding on their data.
Okay. I have we may have question for one more due to the time, but by all means, feel free to send me an email if you have more questions. We'd be happy to connect you later on. But the last question is, what are warning signals that your insight may not be right? So this can be a quick one.
Sure. If your gut feel around competitors doesn't look right, like if you're not seeing the right type of competitors, I mean, you're searching, you're having a lot of feedback internally, you're having discussions, and if you're saying like, hey, I'm not seeing my competitors, with this kind of an approach in these reports, as I've been hearing internally, it doesn't make sense. So try to correlate with your internal conversations, with other reports, with your own search to have a gut feel. Because I think if your gut feel is this doesn't look right, my bet is you might be even getting it from your own searches or from what others are saying inside the company.
Okay, thank you. I think this is about the last question we can get. The time is right on dot. Thank you everyone for attending. This is just a quick free competitive opportunity audit for all our attendees. I will be reaching out with you with the slide deck and the presentation. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel to send you an email. You will be hearing from me. So if you have any question, we can definitely connect later. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.